Well, I think I'm live. Um, anyway, I'm back. It's John, and yeah, just curious if we have any questions that are out there. I mean, obviously, I'm really curious. The last couple of podcast interviews. I kind of hate to say podcast because of it being more visual, but anyway, the interviews were with Michael Nathanson of MGM Pictures. He was the chief of MGM Pictures, and he was involved with Columbia. He was incredible. But you know what's? Hey, how are you, Carolyn? And that was it. Was I call that a sleeper interview, by the way. A lot of people out there, I'm sure, are like, why is he? What's this Michael Nathanson? Who's that? But this is a guy that's been in the industry for a long time. I mean, when like I said, he was head of MGM Pictures. He was very high up. I think he was head of worldwide production for Columbia. He was involved in so many movies, and I'd love it. I've actually would love to have him back, but which probably I think will happen. But it's really funny. You look and it's like, oh, not as many people are viewing that interview. That's why I call it a sleeper interview. Whether you know who he is or not, I would highly suggest watching that interview. His stories about Pierce Brosnan with the James Bond franchise, going back to like Sinbad, and I think it's Sinbad in the Seven Seas. That what else? The Deep with Jacqueline Bisset, Nick Nolte. Just some of these stories are really, really interesting to hear from his perspective. And so you get a little sense of not just the behind the scenes, but a few other things. Hi, Regina. Hi. Thanks for being on. And so you get a sense of, what it was like, not only from like an executive perspective, but also, he talks about his early life, when he was first getting into the business and what he experienced. By the way, talk about an inspirational story, by the way, too. Michael Nathanson has dyslexia. He goes on, and at one point, he is in charge of like $1.5 billion worth of production and marketing for the studio. So it's very inspirational. I mean, here's a guy that had dyslexia. A lot of people thought he was dumb. That's a very common misconception that was out there. And he goes on and has this incredible success. So anyway, if you get a chance, check out the Michael Nathanson one. I think you'd like it. The obviously the other one that was out recently was the Family cast, or the cast of Family, I should say. That was really, really wonderful. It's always interesting to try to moderate or interview at the same time 5 people. It's really, really kind of wild. Hi, Todd. Thanks for being on. I see that as well, and thank you. I appreciate the good words. Yeah, it's interesting when you have on like an entire cast like that, and you're trying to interview 5 people because you want to involve everyone, but you also want some counterflow of the discussion. So it makes it quite interesting. John, I see that you mentioned Candy Moore. Yeah, I would like to get Candy Moore on actually, and had originally reached out to her probably a year and a half ago or so. I can revisit that. I can definitely revisit that. I'll take a peek. We'll see what comes up. Candy would be very interesting to talk to. Let's see. Oh, Catherine. Hi. Well, I'm glad that you found my channel. I really am. Thank you. I'm glad that you're enjoying the content. It's kind of fun when you do find my channel for the first time, especially at this stage of the game. There is such a library of interviews that I'm telling you, it's a blast if you want to go back and look through it. There's just so many unique interviews in there, from all different angles. And I'll tell you, I honestly have yet to do an interview where I'm just inside thinking, that wasn't that interesting, or I didn't really know that. There's always a story. There's always an angle that comes up that you never expect to see. And I think that's what's really pretty wild about it, That's why I say, even if you don't know the person, sometimes just check it out. I think you'll be blown away by some of the stories. I've mentioned Mike McGreevy a few times, and quite a few people have actually checked out the interview. But I have people that are like, I wasn't familiar with him as well. Well, listen to that interview. When you realize who he worked with, it's quite amazing. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm glad, Terry, I'm glad that you saw the Michael Nathanson interview. Yeah. I agree. I forgot to mention, Terry just mentioned the Michael Nathanson interview with his background with the NFL. His dad produced 13 of the original Super Bowls. I mean, and he was running on the field, literally running on the field to try and grab, somebody that was one of the stars of the game afterwards, just to say, hey, would you talk to the network, And it really, really interesting, and the stuff that his dad developed, by the way, for the NFL, as far as from a broadcasting perspective, we take it for granted now, and he literally developed that. So, yeah, Terry, I appreciate you bringing that one up. That is good. Yeah, Janice, I was just talking about the Casta family. It's really interesting. Fortunately, I was connected with a few of them already, but trying to line up schedules and having people, respond differently on emails, it's really tough. One thing that I'll address, I had people ask me about, hey, where was Meredith Baxter Burney, or where's Christy McNichol? And hey, it's not like I don't want them. you know, I kind of crack up myself sometimes. I want them. If you don't see them in that interview, there's a reason. Believe me. I have not been able to connect with Meredith. Quinn Cummings, I just did not connect with her in time. And then Season Hubley, I'm still trying to. We're connected, but I still haven't gotten any response as far as for an interview. And then Christy McNichol, who I have had the pleasure of meeting a couple of times. She's a beautiful person, really nice person. That is not her thing to do interviews. She's more meet, in person, one on one. She's not really. She's just not. That's just not her space. So that's why she wasn't on. That's the biggest one. Haley, happy Friday to you too, by the way. Yeah, I agree. It is nice. I kind of like this time to have it, when I do the live. I like I said, I haven't set an exact, like, I'm always going to do it at this time, but I do like the Friday. It does work out pretty well. Let's see. You should do family and other people for a tribute for Euchre. Oh, now, Kristen, do you mean do like bring together Eileen Graff and Rob Stone and Tracy Wells and Bryce Beckham for like to talk about Euchre? Because I don't think that's a bad idea, by the way. That's kind of interesting. I know all of them, so that could sincerely happen. I actually really like that idea. It's a good one. I've done separate interviews with 3 out of the 4 of them. I just haven't had Bryce on yet, but I like that. I like that idea. That's why it's kind of fun to do this. So yeah, maybe I'll bring all of them on actually, and we'll do a kind of their tribute to Euchre. I think that we've had a little bit of distance from when he's passed. I think I could start reaching out. I always want to be respectful of people. After Bob Euchre meant a tremendous amount to them. And the irony is I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin originally, so Bob Euchre was always, around, as I was growing up. So, that would mean a lot to me too. So yeah, I would enjoy doing that. That'd be great. Let's see I see Robert. Yeah, from Houston Sports Talk. What are your 5 favorite all-time TV shows? Ones that you find yourself going back to rewatch? Well, I will tell you. The Wild Wild West. I can tell you that right now. Lost in Space, MASH. Ooh, and then the other 2 are in there. I would say Bewitched. Oh boy, let's see. And you know what? I'm trying to really think and focus here of what I would do right now. I would say Twilight Zone. I don't know. In the case of all of those shows, they just don't get old. I immediately step in and I'm there. And then I would say when we go into the other 5, you start going into like Happy Days, Get Smart, Hogan's Heroes. Donna Reed show, by the way. I would say Donna Reed and Father Knows Best. I would put those in there as well as kind of jumping in and out. So fun question. I love that. That's really cool. Really cool. Earl, let's see here. Nice to see you on here, by the way. Have you ever talked to Kyle Chandler in the cast of Early Edition? I'll tell you something about that. So you've got Kyle Chandler and you've got Oh my gosh, I can't believe I just blanked out. It's the other guy that was on the show, who I've talked to personally, and he was not ready to do the show. He was with Michelle Pfeiffer for like 5 years. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I could see his face, and I can't think of his name. I'm imagining you know his name, Errol. So if you want to put it in the chat, that's fine. But I have talked to him, not Kyle. And as I said, he just was not ready to do it right now. But once again, I can revisit that. We'll see what happens. But I'd love to have Kyle on. I think Kyle is a great actor, and he's had a hell of a career. Um, Watch a lot of retro TV. Really enjoyed the channel. Oh, cool, Jonathan. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad that you're enjoying it. Part of doing the channel for me is just a personal enjoyment by all means. And I would say second to that is I love the fact that it brings back great memories to people, or memories of, maybe things weren't so great for them, but whenever they were in that space of watching these shows, it really meant something to them. It really warmed their heart. It really showed them a different, side of life. And so I really like that. I feel like that's part of what makes me to, continue to do it. Besides the fact that I love it, it's just that I know that it means a lot to people. So it's pretty cool. And thank you, by the way, for the hearts. Let's see, George. And George, how are you? It's nice to see you. I would love to hear an interview with Ricky Nelson's son. Yes, I took that. I took that note. Yeah, I'm definitely working on that. We'll see what happens. Curly, nice to see you. Let's see. One of my favorite shows growing up. Yeah, Janice. I don't blame you. That Family was one of your favorites growing up, without a doubt. And George, thank you. I'm glad that you mentioned Family as well. Yeah, Janice. I say this every time, and it is the truth. I think that the show Family was on a different level. I mean, no, I'm not taking anything away from all those shows that I love that were great, but Family was like almost on the level of a high production movie. And it shows, by the way, they had Mike Nichols, behind the initial pilot and everything like that. Yes, Aaron Spelling and Leonard Goldberg were involved. I'm not taking that away, but when you add in Mike Nichols, I mean, it just set a tone and a level. The guy that shot it, I think his name was Laszlo, blanking out, but the cinematographer was like from film. You can just tell. Anybody that goes to watch that show, you go, there's just something different about this. Very real too. And when you watch that cast interview with the cast of Family, you feel it. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to, listen to that interview and you go, wow, this has affected these people their entire life. They still are drawn to one another and the warmth of what they experienced, those storylines. So it's pretty cool. Paul, yeah, I see that. Sorry, Gary didn't get to get his family. Yeah, yeah, it's kind of wild. Gary Frank had written a reunion show for those of you that either saw the interview or didn't, and it never got. They never gave him the backing to do it. He went to the network, and they had everything laid out. All the cast members were going to come back. Everything was there, and they never did it. And for all the reunion shows that they've done, I am really shocked that they didn't do that. My guess, if I had to take a wild stab at it, is times had changed enough that maybe that sense of like a very real show on that level wasn't quite where the network was at that point. Part of my job, by the way, just so that you guys know, is I've worked in the industry for years. I moderate focus groups for the studios, for the streaming services, for the networks, the cable services, everything. And so I've done a lot of testing. And I have this background, and I will tell you that you can have a show that is just great. The idea is terrific, but if it's not the right timing for it, of that what that network is putting out at that time, the type of shows that they're lining up, or what's available on that schedule, it just goes into the can. It's not like it suddenly goes, you know what? We're not going to be able to do that reunion movie. So, maybe we should go over to Netflix, see if they want it. Or maybe we should go over to whatever. It usually doesn't work that way. It's a very ego-driven business. And what happens is often it just gets shelved because nobody wants to take credit and say, Oh, the guy over at ABC, I mean, he's really the one that was behind it. Nobody wants to say that. They want it to be their idea. And I hate to say it, but that's more truth of, what it really is. Yeah, and Paul also, yeah, Lane talking about the Rip Torn thing. I remember seeing your comment right when I was putting out the interview, and I was like, "You're gonna like this. You're gonna like this." That she talked about that. It was also kind of a emotional moment for her, that experience of working in that Rip Torn film. But anyway, let's see here from Jay. As one who was born in the I'm glad I found this channel. Hey, great, Jay. I'm glad to hear it. I really am. And I want you to know, as far as the 50s and 60s go, I mean, obviously we've lost a lot of these people, but there are still some around. I'm constantly trying to get them on because it, we all know we get older, we could pass away at any point. I mean, not that when you're younger you can't too, but it gets more, of an issue. And so I'm always trying. I mean, one that I've been trying for, and I'm really crossing my fingers for. We've been trying to pull something together. Maybe is Jeannie Russell, who was on Dennis the Menace. I'm really hoping that I can, do an interview with her. I'm really crossing my fingers. I think that would be extremely interesting. I'm trying to think of another one that I was trying to get. Not There's Jeannie Russell, and there's another guy in there. I can't think right now. But anyway, always in that realm. It's always in the back of my mind, like, oh man, I want to get somebody on there. Yeah, Karen Grassley. I'm glad that you saw. I'm glad you saw that one, Janice. Yeah, that was an interesting interview. She's a sweetheart. I say that all the time, but she really is. She's very intelligent, very kind soul. And I'll tell you one thing that I am working on with her, and possibly also with Michael Learned. In fact, I'm from the Waltons, by the way. Michael Learned from the Waltons. Is I'm going to do a which I've done with a few others. I'm going to do a fan question thing with. I'm trying to do with Karen, and I'm also hoping to do one with Michael Learned. But the person that I was talking to, that we were in touch, is no longer taking care of her or whatever. So now I gotta work my way through like Dean Butler or somebody like that and get to Karen, and then we'll probably do that. But anyway, when I do that, I'll put out a notice: send in your fan questions. This is what I've done in the past, and I'll ask it. I'll ask her it. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of fun. Usually I'll say your name. I don't give out like your whole name. I don't like to do that. But yeah, yeah, that's interesting. Curly, what about the two boys from Flipper? That would be interesting. I mean, I watched Flipper, the reruns, constantly as a kid. So, yeah, I'll put it down. I'll put it down. Why not? Jonathan, Lynn Moody. Yeah, Lynn Moody's just there's another kind soul. Really, really kind. I'm glad to hear that brought you to the channel. By the way, it explained a lot. I just watched. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, it's kind of cool when Jonathan was just mentioning that in the Lynn Moody interview. After seeing that, then he goes back and he watches Knots Landing. He kind of starts to understand, like, wait, why isn't she on anymore? What's going on? What did they do? That is kind of fun when you get to watch these interviews and you get an answer to like your question. When you're sitting on the couch going, why is that not? Why is that not happening? Why is that person no longer around? So yeah, that would be good. By the way, my next interview, and you just made me think of this, and I intended to release it today, but I'm like everybody else. I get busy and I try so hard to release them every week and on a Friday, but I just get a little overwhelmed. So my next one is actually going to be Ernest Thomas, who is from What's Happening and What's Happening Now. I already did one with Haywood Nelson, who is another great person. I just really like his energy. But that's going to be probably the next interview that I'm going to drop. But I haven't said that I haven't put that out there yet. But that's what I'm working on at the moment. Let's see. And by the way, his story is really interesting. I won't give anything away, but I'll just say one guy that's in there that really it'll blow you away, like the effect and the heart that somebody had. Muhammad Ali with the Ernest Thomas story is pretty wild. Okay. Oh, Kristen, yeah. Then maybe the Brewers and the kids of Bob Euchre. Yeah, possibly. I might bring in the cast just because I feel like it's more directly related. But and the Brewers trying to get some of the Brewers together would be rather interesting. I also, I try really hard to try and stay in the vein of my show. So if you notice, I mean, I'm very heavy on like the television stars. I do have a little overlap into movies. Because a lot of them also were in movies. So, I don't have a problem with that. But I try really hard to not go too far outside of my brand. Like I've had people come to me, and believe me, I'm tempted. I'm not saying I'm never going to do it, but like from the music industry, to interview them. And I'm just trying to figure that out. I just don't want when you come to my channel that it's like, well, wait, what is his channel again? I like that when you come, you know what my channel is about, and that's what I'm trying to stick to. Oh, Kristen, you're from Wisconsin. I should have known. I should have known. What should tell me what part? I'd be curious. Um, I'm from Milwaukee, as I said, like just one of the suburbs right there. I love Wild Wild West. I was just watching it a while ago. That's so funny, Regina. I'll tell you a funny story. By the way, this is like talk about small world. I went to an event last night. YouTube has been very good to me as of late. By the way, just give kudos to YouTube. I was at an industry event last night where it was a bunch of creators and people from everything, not just entertainment. I mean, it could be anything from somebody that has a kung fu channel to somebody that has a fascia channel to a food channel. But it's really cool. I really enjoyed it. We got to talk, and I met this woman as I was actually trying to get my car. She was in line too, and I met this woman, and I told her about my channel. And the reason I'm bringing this up is she said she was a little younger, and she said, Are you familiar with the show called The Wild Wild West?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm very familiar with the Wild." Like, I love the show. And she said, "Well, my grandfather was the stand-in for Robert Conrad, and oh my God, it's amazing how quickly I forget like a quick one." And Mm, the partner. Somebody throw that in there too. But anyway, he was the stand-in. Not only that, he wrote a book called Inside the Wild Wild West, and she is trying to access it for me. In fact, we ended up talking this morning, and she's trying to get it for me. So I can't wait to read that. It just sounds really cool. But it's just so weird. The 6 degrees of separation is pretty crazy. So, yeah, Carolyn, Bewitched. Aaron Murphy, by the way, I mean, talk about just a kind, vivacious. She loves having the legacy of Bewitched with her. She loved the cast. She shows it. I did 2 interviews with her. I know her. I don't. By the way, I don't say just so you know, I don't throw that out like I know her. Or whenever I mention that, it's not. I don't mean that on some kind of conceited level or I got something over somebody. But I think it helps you to understand that sometimes this is on a more personal level than just I just another person that happens to be on my list to interview. But but no, she's really great, and she is really carried the legacy on well. She still loves it, and she's very proud of it. So it's kind of cool. But both of those interviews, the regular one and the fan question one, are both really good. I check that out. Patrick Laboratory is great to listen to. Not hearing about his time on Little House, it's very funny. Patrick, I wish him very well with his podcast. I told him for those of you that don't know, he was on Little House on the Prairie. I tried to get Patrick on. We communicated back and forth, and he's like, "I'm so focused on my own podcast, I can't." I think that's a huge mistake, by the way. It's nothing against Patrick. I think if I had somebody reach out to me from one of the other channels and they said, "I'd love to interview you," I think it's foolish not to do that because I think it broadens your exposure and more people get to come and listen to your stuff. So anyway, no offense to Patrick Haley. I wish him the best. I love Little House on the Prairie. I love the cast. They've been really, really great. And I know quite a few of them, and they're just very nice people. But that's the one thing I really wish he would come on because I think it would help him out. Let's see. Love the Zone to Hearts. Oh, thank you. Yeah, the Twilight Zone episodes were, they're amazing. You can go back now and you still, I'm sure a bunch of you have seen the Twilight Zone, obviously, the old ones, but you still get those goosebump moments. You know what I mean? I think it's because it was shot in black and white and it takes you back to when you were younger watching that. I still get creeped out. Yeah, I was just thinking of the one with Bill Mooney, and where he's like taking over the town. Every time I've met him or been around him, my brain goes back to that episode. I'm always like, oh man, is that creepy? He's such a good child actor. Hi, Jill. Nice to see you. Um, yeah, I know everybody wants me to talk to Billy Gray again. I definitely can. Billy and I know each other. There's no doubt about that. Fisher Stevens, yes, Earl. Sorry, I jumped the gun there. Fisher Stevens was from early edition, and yes, I've talked to Fisher. I want to get him on. Like I said, he did not feel he was ready to do this kind of, I guess, an interview now, but he would be really interesting. So we'll see. I never give up. Yeah. So look, I am trying to work out what would I ask Billy about. Billy and I talked about we had fan questions. We talked about his entire career. And we're just it honestly is just like, what could I do? Because I have to go to see Billy because Billy just doesn't feel, with technology, like he really appreciates Zoom. So I have to be there with him in person. So it involves a little more than just, hey, let's watch this episode together. I have to just figure out how we would do that because we normally do the interview outside. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. Oh, what shows have I acted in, Regina? Somebody brought this up at the first one. Look, I never had this massive acting career. I was always the guy that was coming down to like the last 4 or 5 guys, and then I was the guy that didn't get the gig. That was a lot of that. So that's also how I know a lot of people too. Is they were around. We were auditioning against each other. We were, in the same space or acting classes or anything like that. I was on General Hospital. I played the Quartermain's attorney on that. A couple of independent films, nothing great. I mean, one, it was like a horror film, just terrible movie, and it was set in like the what do you call it, like the wilderness. It was snowing, and hey, I mean, I'm not a horror guy or whatever, but literally a snowmobile goes over and it runs over my head. That is about my extent on the big moment. And I don't know, a lot of commercials. I did a lot of commercials. Where I also met a lot of people too. I mean, that's how I know Barry Livingston. We did a Honda commercial together. So that and voiceover. Voiceover. I made more money in voiceover and booked more jobs than I ever did on camera. It's just that simple. As I've said in the past, I was the voice of Dell Computer for about 2 years. I was a cat for one of the cat food companies. I was that voice. I mean, I've done, Pizza Hut, Honda, Chevrolet, God, what else? Just so many. And a little animation, by the way. My voice has been up there, and I've gotten really close, like really close to getting like my own, you know, one of the main characters. Animation just never happened. So anyway, that's kind of where that's at right now. Family addressed many issues. It did. I agree with you, James. Many issues. Let's see. Yeah, William Catt. I saw that in there. He's on my list. I would be interested in talking to him. He seems like a really interesting guy. Show Life Goes On was a great show. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Family was so realistic. Let's see, a family that didn't drive fancy. Yeah, it didn't. Yeah, they drove a Pinto. You know what's funny? They drove a Pinto wagon. We had a Pinto wagon growing up in Milwaukee. In fact, we drove it all the way out to ski in Colorado, probably 3, 4 times. We would stop in North Platte, Nebraska, and spend the night, and then drive to go ski. So I know that one really well. Ford Maverick. Yep. Have you ever considered anyone? Yes, Cast of Wonder Years. Actually, Carolyn. I've reached out to Josh Saviano, who was the main character on the Wonder Years. It was like one of his best friends. And I've also reached out to Danica McKellar. Hasn't come through yet. We'll see. We'll see what happens. The family cinematographer was Laszlo Kovacs. That's exactly right. Yeah, shot Easy Rider, 5 Easy Pieces, Paper Moon. You're right. Ghostbusters, Say Anything, and you wonder why Family looks so good. That's why. That's why. Okay, we're almost going to wrap it up here because I try to limit this one to half an hour today. The mom from the Wonder Years was Allie Mills. Okay, cool. I'll see. Jeannie Russell on interviews. Yeah, Jeannie Russell would be great. I'm telling you, Errol. I'm trying. I really am. I've got doing the best I can through the contacts that I have. And like I said, I've actually met her. It's just a matter of, when she's comfortable. Yep. You got to be very careful because they are slipping away. Yeah, look, Kurt Russell would be great. I would love Kurt Russell. There's a certain level, whether or not that happens, but I never say that it'll be too big. All right, let me look here. Oh, wait. There we go. Robert Foxworth. Yeah, I know because he was married to Elizabeth Montgomery. I would love that. Kay Lenz, somebody that I'm also is on my list. Liza Minnelli. No kidding. I mean, I would love Liza Minnelli, and I actually do know people that know her, but I just don't know if she would come on my show. I don't know. There's somebody that's very private. Jeff Bridges, come on. I mean, I would love to talk to Jeff Bridges in like 2 seconds. Yeah, Daniel J. Travante. Is he? It sounds terrible, but is he? If he's still around, yeah, I will reach out to him. I don't know why. Ross Martin. Duh. I should have known that. Yeah, you're right. That's the guy from Wild Wild West. I can tell you're from Wisconsin. Your accent has an interesting story about it. It's so funny. Yeah, I know. Robert Yount. Yeah, he'd be great. I have a buddy, a very close buddy, that's trying to. I don't know if he's released it yet. I don't think he has, but it's about the Brewers and kind of in their prime. And if you'll believe me, you'll hear about it if you're a Brewers fan. Lauren Tews. I reached out to Lauren. We got close, but she is somebody that also does not want to do interviews right now. So we'll see. I did enjoy watching the fan, but I recall John Rubinstein in the series Crazy Like a Fox. Yeah, I know. I thought about that too with Jack Warden. That would have been great. Would love to see John and Penny Pizer interview. Yeah, maybe. That's a possibility. I can definitely get John on again if I need to. It's so funny. I have to go, by the way. We're down to we're over 30 minutes, but Rod Serling's daughter, so funny. Anne I've been in touch with, but Anne has not been willing to come on. Sometimes people they're just not comfortable like to come in front of the camera. So you just got to keep working and seeing what happens. Or I wasn't watching the General Hot. I appreciate that, Regina, that you don't remember seeing me as a Quartermain's attorney. It wasn't like I had a part every week on that show, believe me. Oh, cool. That's cool that you met Rod Serling's daughter. I would love to meet her. William R. Moses from Falcon's Crest. That'd be cool. Yeah. The George, what am I saying? The Gregory Harrison interview, he talks about Falcon Crest, and that's kind of interesting, by the way, if you haven't checked that one out. I think I've heard your voice on commercials. You probably are right, Regina. I mean, I did a lot of voiceover. I was very, very fortunate, before things became non-union. This was still when it was union. You were paid well, and it was a great time. It was a fun time. Met a lot of people through that. Thanks again, Janice. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. And yes, Kurt Russell would be amazing, believe me. Yeah, I heard that Anne Serling's book is good. I need to check that one out. Okay, I'm gonna go, everybody. I can't thank you enough. I love that you're all out there listening, and I love connecting with you during these. So we'll see. Like I said, I'll always announce it when I'm going to do another one. This was very last minute that I went for this, so I appreciate all of you being on. And that's it. So take it easy. We'll see ya. Bye-bye.